You're tuned into the show that informs, entertains, inspires, and promotes motorsports everywhere.
Welcome to Winning Wednesday on Northwest Race Report.
Tonight's show is brought to you by
Miller Kitchen and Bath, Bailey General Contractors, Myers Floor Covering, Welch's Gun Shop, and Flaming Pig Barbecue.
And by the Wenatchee Valley Super Oval. And by Leonard Evans, Used Car Superstore. And by Product41.com, Atomic Screen Printing. And by BLG, Blue Line Graphics. Be unique, stand out, get noticed. www.blg.blue. And now, back to your horsepower performance hosts, Terry Bridges and Glenn Lippy Tower. Oh, what's going on, racers? Blessings on another great Wednesday night. Winning Wednesday. I'm your horsepower performance host, Terry Bridges. What is going on? Hey, we got a cool show tonight. NWRR and the Bears Den, Part 2. And tonight, we have got a cool show for you. We've got, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 topics we're going to talk about tonight with the great Bear Tamosovich. Hey, Mike Shorn, what's going on? Jimmy Z, what's up? B. Rutledge, what is going on, my man? And these are going to be topics that range from, well, I'll tell you one of them. Before you spout, I'm just going to let you know, should all dealers and distributors be allowed to sell parts at tracks even when it's outside their area? That's one. We're going to be talking about, should hired drivers be allowed to drive other things in the off season? Is the NASCAR season too long? Could a Busch-style series come back if it were more heavily regulated? Should there be, this is going to be a touchy one, should there be an all-female NASCAR series? And why don't we tech fuel and weight ahead of the game? Now, I've given you kind of the thing. We're going to wait for Bear Tamosovich to call us up tonight. He's going to be our other guest. And last week, I had my little bell, right, that we had. And I got carried away. So it's my bad on that. I kind of screwed that up. It wasn't supposed to go like it did. So for that, I apologize. However, while I'm waiting for Bear to give us a call, April 3rd. This is so cool. I mean, this is really cool. Brad Coleman. So hopefully everybody knows who Brad is. If you don't, he's a good guy. And he is heading up, I think, something that's just super cool. None of us like domestic violence. And a friend of his lost his daughter to it. Here's what I'm going to say on that is any guy that beats a woman deserves everything he gets. That's all I'm going to say. And so here's the deal. On April 3rd at 6 p.m. at Yakima Speedway, they are going to be doing what they call, hang on just a second. Oh, Bear, what's going on, buddy?
Good evening, Terry. Good evening to the Northwest Race Report.
Yeah, man. Hey, I was just letting everybody know. I don't know what your feelings are. I think I do. But size up your feelings on domestic violence.
Domestic violence as in...
yes, as you know it.
It's not right in any situation.
Right? And do you agree with me that any guy that beats a woman deserves what he gets?
Absolutely. I mean, it goes both ways.
I guess it does go both ways.
I know there's women that are very domestically charged towards men, but the stereotype is the man towards the woman. But I believe in any situation, it should be punishable.
Absolutely. Well, check this out, man, because on our NWRR and the Bears Den tonight, I'm going to let Bear talk about a little bit what he's got going on locally, but this is a cool thing. On April 3rd, 6 p.m., Yakima Speedway is going to be doing what they call the Emily Shuffle. And it is going to be going down the front straightaway at Yakima Speedway. G-Force Media is going to be there to video the event, and it's to raise money for the YMCA domestic violence. And again, a guy by the name of Brad Coleman is heading up the event. You can contact him at 509-759-4006. I think that is cool. Just me. What's up, Chris Passanani? Marvin Christie Schultz, what's going on? Steve Thiel, what's going on? Bear, what do you got going on locally?
Locally, it is the last of the winter series of Ohio indoor karting at the Ohio State Fairgrounds, the infamous Hog Barn that Larry Booz, famous kart promoter, they race on concrete in the Hog Barn. It's the reunion featuring Charlie Schultz. Every year they have a final indoor race of the season where they honor one of the instrumental people of the kart racing community, and Charlie Schultz has worked his way through the kart racing ranks up through super modifieds and now asphalt sprints. He's probably getting closer to my age, but still he always races indoor concrete at the Hog Barn. That is this weekend, Friday and Saturday, at the Ohio State Fairgrounds in Columbus, Ohio.
Dude, that's cool. You say he's getting close to my age, like you're old.
But when you get close to that 4-0 age, then it's
Are you really?
It starts getting really. I'm Richard Petty number.
You're 43?
Yes, sir.
Dude, I am 5. I am one of the coolest Chevys ever. I'm 5'7", man.
Absolutely, and you look and don't take it the wrong way, but you do look younger than me. So you're doing something right.
No, man, come on, dude.
You had to show off your new specs. So,
hey, what do you think of them? What do you think of them?
Very classy, very diligent looking. So
sweet.
You're mainstream,
dude. You know what? They're Nikes.
Awesome.
Yeah, they were the first pair I picked. What's up, Rocket? Rocket says, I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Good take.
Good, yeah, absolutely. Hey, Bridget. Oh, Daryl Johnson from Kentucky. What's up? What is going on? Elmer, Matt Nolan, Mike Stelz, Tammy Lynn Walden. Oh, man. Miss Hermiston? Yeah. Mindy Ray Haskins. She's going to be racing. Did you hear that?
Awesome.
Yes. She says, hey, my beautiful peeps. Glenn Knudsen, Case Higgins, case of beer? You're here? I love it. Mr. Walden, what's going on? You know, Wayne Walden owns the Hermiston Speedway along with his son, and they rescued this place. This place was a desolate, weed-infested kind of place, and they've, they have resurrected this bad boy. I'm telling you.
You want to talk about resurrecting tracks? Jamie Wheeler in the Midwest Race of Champions this year, probably one of the biggest Burris races in the Midwest. He is resurrecting Waynesfield Raceway Park karting. They had their own kart track with a tower, the whole 9 yards. He is resurrecting that facility this year for 2 races. So it's going to be a big feat for Jamie and Jody Wheeler and the rest of us. But that's another prime racetrack, kart track in Ohio that Jamie Wheeler is resurrecting this year.
To me, those guys are the heroes of the sport, are they not? I mean,
absolutely.
We all wish we could do that, but I mean, some of us are more prepared and inept to do that. But Daryl Johnson says Larry Booz runs Eldora.
Larry Booz is third in charge at Eldora. So there's Tony Stewart, who's the owner.
Yep.
Mr. Slack, who's in charge of all operations.
Now, is that the same Slack, like Slack Carts?
Don't quote me. I'm not sure on the family tree of that, but Roger Slack.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not for certain, but he is He is number 2 in charge, and then Larry Booz, I would say, was number 3 under that. He handles all the track operations, concession stands, everything, and then also Little Eldora. So I would say Larry Booz is number 3 in charge.
See,
at Eldora.
Now you guys think the Bear is just karting, man. This guy is well rounded. I mean, he knows big cars just like he knows karting. Now he might know karting a little better, but he still knows big cars and what's going on around there. So that's what's cool about having you here, Bear, is because you can give some insight on some of the cool tracks that we know and love. Like Rocket says, he's got a slack. It's back there in Pennsylvania. He and his tire guy, Steve Sharpley, who we hope is doing marvelous. You know, Steve lost his wife here to cancer a couple weeks ago. Actually, it's been right before the BK,
Right.
and so Steve, hope you're doing awesome, buddy. But Ronnie's cart's back there, and it's a slack. And you know what he told me? He said my slack is like that cool pair of boots that are like super broke in, right? That you love, that you can't throw away. They just fit and they feel good. That's what he said his slack is like. Nice. Well, here we go. We're going to start off. No, we're not going to really argue. This is just going to be me and Bear talking about. And Bear, I think you can relate to this one, but number one tonight is, should all dealers and distributors be allowed to sell parts at tracks, even when it might be outside of their territory?
And what we're asking the viewers to do tonight is, when we talk about a subject and Terry takes one side and I take the other, weigh in what side you agree on, Terry's side or Bear's side, so we can get a feel on what your opinion is, because we want to include you on the show also, the listeners. That's what makes it a well-rounded show. But number one, you made it a real hard one. This is a loaded question. So if we can talk locally.
Because I really think this does apply more locally than it does, I mean, and then when I say national, I mean more locally, just in karting and in general, because the cars, it's not, well, I don't know, it could be like that, I guess. But
and I've been reading this. You came up with the questions last week, so I've had a week to look over this, and I've taken a certain approach and I've broken it down a certain way. So starting local, starting at the small, I want to say the smallest form of racing, but the grassroots, the local Saturday night show, whether it be a kart race or a dirt track race that has compact street stocks, mod lights modified, a local NASCAR track that still has modifieds, late models, that normal Saturday night racing, it's going to be, I feel it's going to go down to what the promoter or the track owner allows. And it's more of a dedication. So on a normal Saturday night, my opinion is when that track owner has a relationship with one parts owner, that's the only one that should be the dedicated parts dealer, seller at the track. So if they're on a Hoosier deal selling Hoosier tires, usually you only have one dealer there at the track, mounting, dismounting tires, selling tires. If you have a parts dealer, you should have a parts dealer that can handle all facets of that night. So if you're going to have karts there and you're going to have Predators and LO206 and clones and Run What You Brung, and they're all running, you got Run What You Brung guys got Vega tires or Maxxis or Dunlops or Firestone. He should be able to handle everything from the light, medium, heavy oil, your filters, your prep, your tires, all well-rounded. He should be able to pick a dealer that can do all that stuff. And that person is dedicated to that track every Saturday night that is a race there for your normal weekly racing series. And I believe there should only be one. But looking outside of the box, when you have a traveling series, or you have a big race that includes a lot of sponsors, there might be a lot of parts vendors or people that contribute to that. And there should be something worked in there with the promoter that allows different part vendors to come to the track and contribute. So that's my loaded question. Or loaded answer on a local Saturday night, I believe 1, because he's servicing the same people or that track, and he's dedicated to that. He might not make as much as a huge event like a BK or a Midwest Race of Champions or a clone shootout, but they're dedicated. They're there every week. When you get that bigger one, then like in Ohio, you might have Sean Lynn Motorsports, Andrea Weaver Motorsports, Bill Williams and Trick Connection, and John Wetzel come down and be 4 vendors, and they'll cover everything that's associated with that track or that event for the night. So that's my opinion on the 2 sides. Local, 1. Traveling or big event, multiple.
You know what, Bear? Part of me agrees with that, but here's what I say. During the week and normal business hours, when there's no race, I say absolutely you have to stay within your territory. You don't sell outside of the territory. I think it's tacky. I just don't think it's right. However, when you go to a racetrack, I believe now, and it could be a local Saturday night deal. It could be a big race. To me, it doesn't matter. To me, I'm saying when you go to a race, all of that is off limits. I'm saying, and when I say off limits, I'm saying it's open door. If you have parts, you're going to sell. And here's why I say that. Because number one, everybody has a vendor that they use. So it isn't like if you're a vendor and I'm a vendor that I'm going to be taking parts away from you. People who use you, Bear, are going to use you. They're going to use me last. For example, if you don't have something, and hopefully we have a good enough relationship, you're going to say, you know what, I'm out of that. I don't have it. You need to go see Terry. But other than that, when you're at a racetrack, I think a racetrack should be fair game. I mean, you can't say, well, this racetrack's out of your territory, so you can't sell parts. But you might have half the field be your people. The people are still gonna use you that use you, and the people that usually buy from me are gonna buy from me first. So I don't think it's right to say no. You can't sell parts here on a race night. To me, a race night is fair game. You don't always know where the races are going to be, and you're going to visit a track and not be able to sell parts. I just don't know. I just don't think that's fair. I think the limits should be off when you're at the racetrack. During the week, I agree wholeheartedly. I am not allowed to sell in your territory, nor are you mine. But that's just the way I see it.
And I'll give you a 45-second response to that, and I'll give you an example. So we have multiple very large vendors in the Midwest, very large. We'll just say they order 200 sets of tires at a time or 200 sets of wheels at a time, where a local guy can only order 10 or 20 sets. You get in, a lot of the times they can offer a couple dollar or 5 or 10% dollar difference because they buy in bulk. They get it cheaper than the smaller wholesaler, reseller guy can get it. So you have a huge vendor that comes in that can, we'll just say, sell a set of wheels for 120, where the little guy that sells all the time will sell for 130. Now, and I've seen this a lot, you'll see a lot of your dedicated patrons always come back to the same person, but when you start slashing prices, there's a lot of people that'll jump over the fence for $10. Honestly, I've seen it happen multiple times. So that's where you start cutting into the little guy that's dedicated in there every week. That's just my spin on what
and you know what? And that's a cool spin. I mean, you know what? You're right. I mean, Lippy said this a couple, when we had this same argument kind of I think it was a year and a half or so ago. And really, Bear, here's how it started. We had a track down here locally that was the one person. Now, they paid the track money to be the only vendor. All right, so I look at that two ways. Number one is, okay, that's cool. He paid. If you look at the track, I mean, and most tracks are looking to make money, then doesn't it make sense to allow the other shops to be able to pay that same money to be allowed to sell parts? I mean, it's good for the track, and so around here, it might not be like it is back there for you. I mean, we have vendors that are, distributors for a certain thing, and others are distributors for another thing, and you can't, one's down south and one's up north. I mean, I don't know. Like you said, it is a loaded it is a loaded question.
I don't think there's a wrong answer.
No, you're right. There isn't.
But it comes back. It's going to come back to the track owner or the promoter and what deal they work out. So if you do have a local vendor that pays X amount of dollars to be there every week, and Acme, huge race distributor, comes down and sells on top of you that night when you've already paid or you already have a deal with them on a normal Saturday night, I don't believe it's fair. But if it's a huge conglomerated race, like a combined, a national or a regional event, there could be a different deal work out. And I'll tell you what a lot of the little guys do, or I'm not saying they're little, but we'll just say local guys. Like I mentioned, Sean,
right,
Andrew, Brian Casey, and others. They have their group of people, and they'll say, hey, bring me 4 sets of cut tires, bring me 2 cases of oil. And those guys already have it lined up where they're making their money before the races even start because they have their clientele that's going to be taking it. One guy might get a clutch. One guy might get an air filter. They're already ready. So I do it myself at my own track where I've got a guy that says, hey, bring me a case of oil, bring me a gallon of goat pee, and it's there at the track and it's already done. I also have John Wetzel who says, hey, can I sell stuff at your track? He comes down to every race out of the back of his truck and he has a little of everything. And he pays his way through the gate, him and his grandsons or granddaughter, and there's his contribution and patronage to the track.
And you know what, Bear, like you said, there is no wrong answer. But what Lippy said was, the more vendors you have, the better it is. Okay, so you have one guy, and let's just say he's selling that axle for $50, and you're stuck with that. But if you've got 3 and 4 or 5 or 6 guys all that have that axle, can that guy still sell it for $50? I mean, isn't it good for the racer to have that? Now he's not stuck and says, geez, I got it. Oh, okay. But if you got a guy, now I'm not saying you undercut it and you sell it for $20 and you lose your fanny on it. I'm not saying that. That shouldn't be allowed. But I mean, I thought Lippy had a good point there. It kind of drives the cost down for the racer. Now, I don't know, right or wrong. I don't know if that's, I don't know if you'll agree with that or not, but that was just one side that Lippy had to it, and which I thought was kind of, maybe there's some validity to it.
Valid point, yes. It's whatever that agreement is made with that track owner or promoter. I think they need to make sure they honor it and be strict with it and not be wishy-washy or flop. If someone flashes a couple $100 in front of you, you got to stay strong. Maybe change your idea for next year. Another situation, you could do the same thing with concession stands. If you have a big event going on, do you allow multiple food trucks to come in and sell? Or do you give it to just one vendor to be the concession stand? I've had multiple concession people come up to me and say, hey, I'd like to do concessions at your Ox series. And, we stick with one. We find one good. You fail, boom, you're gone. We'll find the next one. But concession stands are big. We've had guys make 4 digits profit at concessions. And here I'm making a couple $100 off the race. So
right,
it's all in good gesture.
Well, and yeah, that's true. But as a race, as a what do I want to say? As a track owner, if you can get $300 or $500 from a vendor that says they want to sell parts there, man, wouldn't it behoove you to have 5 guys that are all going to pay $500 to sell parts there? I mean, as a track owner, that's good business for you.
Good for the track, but again, maybe not good for the parts person.
Got it. Well, number 2, I think we included that in it because I said is allowing just one parts trailer at a track fair. But so we'll move on.
Yep.
The next one. Should hired drivers, now I'm gonna assume this means NASCAR or whatever, but I suppose it could go in karting or whatever, but should hired drivers be allowed to race other things or the same thing? Like if you're stock car guys, can you go late model race? Big cup cars, can you go late model racing in the off season?
You start.
The first one. Again, this is a loaded question. I mean, we take.
I'm strong on this one, so.
Make
a good case? So
you're gonna whip me on some. I know that, it's okay. But okay, so who's the kid that drives the Target car or drove?
Kyle Larson.
Yeah. Okay. He's a big open wheel guy. That's where he came from. Bear, I got to be honest. Again, to me, this is a loaded question. I think I see both sides of this. But I'm going to say, I know the one part. I'm just going to take it. I think they should be able to.
Okay.
I know the reason why they probably shouldn't, because if they were to get hurt and this and that, you've got the cup guys that are, or the sponsors there. But I'm still going to say to put that limitation on them is, I don't know. It's like Larson. He does open wheel stuff too. And so what about the other people in the off season when they can go like the Chili Bowl, or things like that? Now he can't go run that, where he'd be a huge draw for the fans and for the track and for the event. And so to limit him and say, no, you can't run that because we're afraid you're going to get hurt. He could get hurt walking across the street, not even racing anything. I mean, you could go that argument too, but that's I think I know what your side is. So let me ding this. Okay, so it's your turn.
So you'd be surprised. My number one, I can take both sides of it, but I agree, and I'll tell you why I agree. For the main fact that they race in the off season is to keep their skills sharpened. And the one thing that we usually forget about racing, it's an entertainment sport, just like all the rest of them. It's entertainment. It's not track and field. It's not the Olympics. It is an entertainment. You're putting on a show. So if you can get Kyle Larson to a Saturday night sprint car race, or you can get Jonathan Davenport to a local dirt track and running a super late model, I believe that attracts more people because they say, oh, my hero, my racing hero is coming here, and it attracts more for the sport. It helps the entertainment, and it helps that local track, those local racers, and they're like, oh my gosh, he's doing the same thing I do. Even though the stuff that Jeremy Mayfield went through his NASCAR career, I invited him up to Bear Track Speedway in the middle of nowhere. Him and his wife, Shayna, they raced, and it brought in a ton of people. It brought in revenue for the little town of Malaga. It brought people from multiple counties around to see it. And I believe they're the best of the best. And they want to race against the local people, local racers. I think it helps it more tenfold. Yes, getting hurt is always a chance that could happen. But most of these big racers have liability clauses in there that say, hey, I'm racing all this year. If something happens, we have a deal set aside for something to happen. Now, my other spin on the same topic that you could argue is if you have and I had this happen at a track. So I'm going to give you my example, and it was a kart race. And I'll tell you what I had to do to explain to this racer the severity of the situation that he was in. So go down, we're at a local Saturday night kart track that usually gets 30, 40 karts in just 4 classes. And an open wheel modified driver that is very good in the tri-state regions, won multiple championships, just a revered and respected and honored dirt racer, jumped in a go-kart race. And it was a treat. It was fun for him, but he bulldozed his way through the field. He started 8th. He pushed and wrecked everybody out of the way. He wrecked the leader so bad that he could not continue. And it was points for these guys. So when the point leader got wrecked, he lost the point lead, lost the championship. And I was officiating that track that night. I put the guy to the tail for rough driving. His normal crew chief and friends all got real pissy and were bitching and moaning at me, but I said, I don't care who you are. You're just putting him to the tail because of who he is. I said, no, it doesn't matter. I put my wife to the tail before racing karts. It doesn't matter. It is what it is. So the guy come off the track, because I put him to the tail and he made it back up to 5th or whatever. And he's like, what was that all about? What? We're just hard racing out there. I said, no, you weren't. You're wrecking everybody. And that's why I black flagged you and I put you to the tail. He goes, you don't understand what happened. You wrecked the leader. He was a points leader, and he's not going to be the points leader when he leaves here. Where you can just get out of that cart, go home, jump in your modified tomorrow, and run for 10,000 to win. I said, think of it this way. Think of how severe this is. So Kyle Larson comes down to your 10,000 to win modified race. He's running, coming up through the field. You're leading the race. He wrecks you. Both of you wreck. You dump the car. You've got 50,000 wrapped up in your car. You can't get it fixed next week. Kyle Larson jumps out of the car, looks at it, hops in the helicopter, and flies away. Races NASCAR the next day. That same thing could happen to you where, hey, it's just another race for them, so you have to respect the situation. And that's what I preach a lot.
And I agree. I mean, I'm not even I can't even argue that. But on the same breath, couldn't that be any clown? I mean, even if he didn't have $1 million and something to fall back on, that could be some other joker.
It could be another joker, but the racer that we're respected and revered so much, which is taking it as a free-for-all ride, where a lot of those drivers are more calculated. Maybe they will take the certain kind of risk, or they'll take more risks because they think it's just for fun. I've been in a lot of backyard races where we might race a little rougher just because it's not for money or it's not for any kind of prestige. I'm not saying it's a way for anybody. I'm just saying there's a different perception that you can have, maybe a little bit more free for all, and that it goes into the thing that we were talking about with bumping and respect 2 weeks ago.
Fair enough. Is the NASCAR season too long? I'm going to say Daryl Johnson says Jeremy Mayfield was a beast behind the wheel.
He was. He got the one finger salute from number 1 salute from Dale Earnhardt at Pocono when he moved him. That was one of the most famous pictures that I've seen between Dale Earnhardt and Jeremy Mayfield.
Is it too long? I mean, it's kind of like it's kind of like NBA and baseball. To me, that's way too long. Now, how many races? It's all the way through November.
36.
36. Okay, right? I guess that's really not too long.
You got 36 races. You got 82 NBA games that go from what?
Oh yeah, you got 160 baseball games.
160 baseball games. You got 17 football games. I think if you think it's too long, then don't race or don't have the team. You could look at Lucas Oil Late Model. I believe they got 56 events, and they usually run Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. 56 events. Sometimes they're going from Minnesota to North Dakota to Iowa in a weekend, or they're going from Indiana to Pennsylvania to Kentucky. So they got 56 events. Granted, their races are usually 100 laps or less. NASCAR is usually anywhere between 300 and 500 miles. So I'd say it's pick your battle. In my personal opinion, yes. I think it's too long. 36 weeks, I think you can condense it down into 20 to 24 like F1. And that's just my opinion.
You know what, Bear? I'm going to agree with you on that. I think number one, let's look at how many seats they've taken out of the grandstands, right? And let's look at why, even around here, even on our NASCAR series here, the super late model, the Northwest Super Late Model Series, even they've kind of cut down. It's one of those things where maybe sometimes fewer and bigger is better than smaller and more. And
I offer two solutions to this one. Cut it down to 20 and race on Saturday, Sunday. Run your Xfinity on Saturday, your Cup on Sunday, and split it up 20 weeks a year. We'll say from February to June, and then July to November, run trucks and something else on Saturday and Sunday. You can get a full 40 week race in, or full 40 in for the year.
Wow,
and
that's
you can
interesting.
Still utilize those tracks, because most people still, I know it's trending where people work a lot of weekends, but still most people can get off a Saturday and Sunday. It's hard to get off a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or even a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday if you have to travel. So then on that 20, if you're racing towards the winter, you can still race your Las Vegas, your Phoenix, your Fontana, your Texas, your Homestead, maybe Darlington. You can get in there in the winter, and then maybe in the summer stuff, you go more towards your Watkins Glen, your Loudon, Milwaukee Mile, Michigan, stuff like that. And maybe I like what ARCA still does, where they incorporate dirt tracks into it. NASCAR, I think, needs to go to dirt. I mean, you have the truck race at Eldora, which is a great race. Some people don't like it because you're usually on a slick track and it takes 4 wide and slide jobs and stuff. We love it, but I think you could split the season and have truck and Cup, and maybe.
What about this though? What if you
series?
Just like what you're saying? What if you went 10 or 12 on pavement and 10 or 12 on dirt? They used to do that, right? Back in the day. Daryl Johnson says that's only 10 weeks of dirt racing. Double headers, 2 for 1 is what he's saying.
And that's what a lot of the Lucas Oil does, is they'll run Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Well, they'll run 3,000 to win the first night, 5,000 the second night, and 10,000 the third night. So you could run the O'Reilly's 250 and then the O'Reilly's 500, or the O'Reilly's 100 and the O'Reilly's 200. I think we need to get the short track back, because those super speedways, you can't fill them up. I mean, it's getting harder. Look at the stands. You only got
exactly.
I mean, they had Daytona look great this year, but I think that was also loaded with the people they had there. But I think you can really enunciate, combine, look what dirt is doing, and piggyback off of that. There's a lot of short half mile or less speedways. We have multiple asphalt tracks in Ohio, just like you do in Washington. So we could be running at Toledo or Killcare or Barberton Speedway, and then they could go run the next night at Michigan International Speedway.
I agree. Let's see, because it's no longer, could Oh, wait. This goes to my bad. Is allowing NASCAR drivers / owners to race at lower divisions good for the sport?
Again, you can take it both ways, but what I'm going to lean towards is if you treat it like baseball, basketball, football, where you have a AAA or a AA, say they haven't raced in a while. Not saying Greg Biffle has lost his edge, but he got rehired by Kyle Busch Motorsports last year to run the 51 truck a couple times, one at Texas, I believe. I believe it would be more for developmental drivers. You see how Ross Chastain, Cole Custer, Tyler Reddick came through the ranks with NASCAR. Putting a Kyle Busch on a regular weekly race, if he's racing for Joe Gibbs in the Truck Series, I would say no. But if Kyle Busch Motorsports and Kyle Busch is racing that race, I would say yes. I know people say, well, what's the difference? That's his own funded team. He's working with his teammates. Same thing Brad Keselowski and Kevin Harvick did. But again, it attracts more people. You have a truck race without a Kyle Busch or some of the other guys, and it's going to hurt you in the stands. They want to see that guy come from 15th to the lead.
Well, it was just like Vegas last week. Busch ended up winning that. And, of course, it was in his own, like you said, his own fund. You know, and I never even thought about the unfunded thing. So you're right. So it wasn't Joe Gibbs sending Kyle Busch down here.
No.
It was Kyle Busch paying his own way down there.
And he also won in the Rowdy car, super late model, at the Las Vegas Bull Ring on Thursday.
Yes.
So that was that Rowdy Energy. I don't know what that has, if he has got a part of that in his motorsports, but you got to see also these guys have a lot of developmental drivers they're bringing up, and that was the reason when NASCAR went from 43 to 40 and truck went from 40 to 36 to 36 to 32 drivers. They had to condense a little bit more, and the big names had to buy those truck teams. I think Harvick had a team, and I think Keselowski had a team.
Well, you know, Barrett, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go.
So, I'm going to just throw this in here. This wasn't on our list, we don't have to go crazy on it, but could you imagine if Tony Stewart, maybe Jeff Gordon, maybe some of those guys funded a UAS team?
Absolutely.
And do you think, I mean, in my eyes, that would be perpetual motion for upcoming drivers in NASCAR. They would have a constant pool. Now, and you know, now I'm not dogging the clones. I'm really not. But we're talking the higher horsepower stuff that takes get to drive it. Wheel man. Not all tires. There's more driver input. I think there is. Now, I'm not dogging the clones. They're good wheels. You know, Jamie Knopf, Jerry Mullis, I mean, those guys are good. Yep. Jamming Jimmy Rogers, Jonathan Cash. I mean, come on. But could you imagine? I mean, what it would do, number one, what it would do to UAS. And number two, it would be like perpetual motion for NASCAR. They would have, I mean, not that they don't have constant looks now at some of these guys, but I think it would sure make, I don't know, I think a guy could make a case that might be pretty cool.
I can give you one good instance of what is already happening in that. There's a track in Carolina called Millbridge Speedway.
Yes.
And Kyle Larson has his own winged outlaw kart team.
That's correct.
And it is a big deal to go down there and race against Kyle Larson on the winged karting deal down there. And this is something that goes back to Phoenix International Raceway about a year and a half ago. They had a panel of Tony Stewart and Kevin Harvick and Clinton Boyer up there when they were doing the reconfiguration at Phoenix. They changed the start-finish line to the other side of the track. And they were talking about, what does this do? The track was provided great side-by-side racing before, and here they're going to dump another $15 million into it. And they were talking about making it more affordable so that next group of people could come up. And I've been trying to get It's very hard to get time with those drivers to say, hey, if you made yourself, I know you got a 36 race season, plus you have testing and you have sponsors and commercials and a whole bunch of obligations, but it goes tenfold when you can get those kind of drivers at a local track. And for example, what we're trying to do this year, and in Zanesville, where I live, at Muskingum County Speedway, we're building a dirt go-kart track right next to the big track. And Devin Moran, the son of Donnie Moran, runs the Lucas Oil Late Model Series this year. We're having a race on July the 2nd. The Lucas Oil Late Model guys come in on July the 3rd. So you're going to have people there like Jonathan Davenport, Tim McCready, Jimmy Owens, Josh Richards, Daryl Lanigan. All the big names of Lucas Oil are going to be there on July the 3rd. And what we're trying to do is to get guys to come down in the pits when they park their rigs, Tyler Erb, Hudson O'Neill, Dennis Erb, those guys. And those people will inspire our next generation of racers and, sign autographs. Some of them are going to race with us. And that's how we feel the sport should be promoted, to show that, hey, we still come to these tracks, we respect the racers, and we want to do everything we can to keep the sport alive.
Dude, that's sweet. I want to get close because a couple of these are going to be controversial, yep. I know, but so could a Busch series work / brought back if it were more heavily regulated cost-wise?
Go ahead.
I think it could. I think it needs to.
How's it going to work? Lay it out.
Well, I didn't get that far. I'm going to be honest.
Be vague on how it could work.
It's like a super late versus a pro late. A lot of people say, "Well, what's the damn difference?" I don't know.
Okay, here's
but you could say no bump stops. Okay, this is on the super late pro late thing. You got to be conventional. You could get away from the $1,200, $1,500 a shock. The rebuildable thing. What was wrong with the old AFCO double adjustable where you could do your compression and rebound. You could say those. I remember when those first came out, those were huge. They were expensive, but they're nothing like, the Olin's and the, all of them now where you've got the remote reservoirs and all that stuff, and it's just crazy out of hand. So you could say, hey, or what about the old 89, well, at least when I raced, 89.95 old steel-bodied AFCO shock. Everybody could afford one of those. Hey, you work an extra Saturday, you could go buy a new shock. I'm just saying, but yet they would still run with the Cup guys, but and the motors, maybe they're all crate motors. Maybe you don't allow the big open stuff that they allow. And I'm not talking about the freight trains and the McGonagills and the 20 and 30,000. I'm not talking that. To me, that's not a crate motor. That's not even close to a crate. That's an open motor. And people may get mad and they might be upset, but 25,000, 30,000, 20. I mean, it isn't. Those aren't crate motors anymore. And once you allow people to open those things up, that's what you get. You get a $20,000 crate motor, which is not what it was intended to be originally. I guarantee that. I remember when they first came out, GM came out, what was it? I don't know if you remember. They were like $4,500.
There's a 602 crate that was based off of 350.
Yeah, but even before that, Bear, that, when they first came out, when the ASA was going to do it, it was like $4,500, $5,000.
We did it in ASA, and that's what I was going to get to. So the ASA Late Model Series had a 604 crate motor that you could go buy from GM for $5,000.
Yeah, that's what it was meant to be.
And you, with Hooters Pro Cup, which we'll say it's the other side, which they got out of, my opinion, they worked themselves out because of money. They were the old Bush series cars. They were truck arm cars. So they were big, heavy sleds, and they all complained because they put cheap motors, low dollar motors in them, and people just complained. So it kept adapted where they were up to $50,000 motors and $30,000 cars. Back when we raced Hooters Pro Cup in 2008, and we were racing against people like Benny Gordon. It got very expensive. So ASA, we raced even before that in 2004, 5, 6, 7. I believe they had a good platform, a 5-star template body, an offset late model chassis. You could go race ready for $20,000 on the track, and I thought that was affordable to run. But then we were on a 3-motor builder system. You could only have 3 motor builders fresh in the motor. Terry Humphrey, Quinn, and Harper were the 3 motor certified, and we would pull a motor out of the each top 3, and we'd rotate the motors, and they would dyno it. And if it dynoed over 420 horsepower, you were deemed illegal. So it could work, but again, like you said, the main point is heavily regulated. CRA is doing the same thing right now in the Midwest, but I think the motors are a little expensive. I believe you can go McGonigal to get a Ford motor or a Dodge, and those motors are still going in the $15,000 to $17,000 range.
Yes, I don't want to, because we could go on forever on this one, but
No problem.
I don't. But I want to kind of get through what we had on here so everybody can have it. So this is going to be the controversial one. Should there be, or would it be feasible to have an all-female NASCAR series, or even an all-female big what is it now? The what's the big super late thing now? The I'm drawing a blank here. The cars. They got cars and some of the other super late model series. Would it be feasible, or would it work, or should there be an all-female series like that?
And I think you could talk to Phil Combs out of Shelby, North Carolina. I believe they just
one of the best announcers ever, right?
Absolutely. Hands down east of the Mississippi. He announced, and it's on his Facebook page a couple weeks ago, that there's an all-woman series. I believe it's a late model series. I think you need to trial it to see what the input you could get. Because I know there's like Haley Diggin, who's racing in the ARCA series.
I'm telling you right now. I'm going to tell you right now. Brittany Zamora is better than her, but I don't know why. I don't know why they won't give her a break.
Probably funding. A lot of it has to do with how much you can bring to the table. JoJo Wilkinson, who used to race karts.
I remember her. I met her at the Insane one.
Yep. And I believe she just turned 16, and I believe she's running late models in the Southeast. I believe it can work. Again, it's an entertainment. I believe there's been a lot of women through the years that have had the skill that just didn't have the funding. I mean, look at Sarah Fisher on the F1 side. Is it Janet Rutherford on the NASCAR side?
Oh, Janet Guthrie, yes.
Guthrie. I mean, there's been a lot of women to do it. Everybody has mixed emotions about Danica Patrick, but she was very good in open wheel multiple times. I think it could work, and I think there was nothing against it. But then you start getting into women have always been allowed into the male sport. Is that going to be women only? Should men be able to race in the
well, but then
series?
You've got the same thing. I mean, yeah, you do. I mean, why? I mean, you would have the same thing if men were allowed to run. Isn't that like Section 9 in our high school sports, right, or whatever it is, where girls should be able to play football, or they should be able to play, boys. And then you run into the. I mean, now I'm not disagreeing with you, Bear. I'm just saying that Now you get the equal rights thing that falls in there. Well, what are you thinking? Are you saying that we can't compete? We're not good enough to compete? No, I don't think that's it at all.
We're just giving your own platform to shine.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that. I mean, we are going to definitely agree on that. I think it could work. There are some that want it to work just because, it maybe helps their case. It's another less person that they don't have to compete with for a ride. But I agree with you. I think and you watch. I think we're both going to see in our lifetime. I think that's going to happen. Do you?
Yes, I think it could work. I think it just has to be well funded, and it has to be meticulous. Again, if you were to break up the NASCAR season, the big three, which Truck, Xfinity, and Cup, and maybe add something else like that. Maybe you could have Xfinity and Truck on one weekend, and then a female division and Cup on the Sundays. So there's a way you can split it up and make it more marketable. Throw some dirt races, have the women on dirt, have an all-star race like they used to.
Yep.
I always liked the IROC where they brought
that was
people
cool
from
too.
all
Yeah,
over.
it was.
But it's hard to get funding, and I'm just saying it not as a national. There's a lot of places you could go after to get national funding, but just locally, I know it's getting harder and harder because it's harder to get more money for people to pay stuff that they do on a weekly racing as it is.
We're going to go out with this one. Why don't we, or why isn't there, tech for fuel and weight before the start of the race? Why do you have to weigh 430 pounds at the end of the race? What would be wrong with weighing everybody as before they roll onto the grid? You roll across the scales and they check your fuel before you roll onto the grid. Everybody's at 430, and boom, you start the race.
I'll go with half of it. I'll believe in checking the fuel, and in a lot of the big races, they make you disconnect the fuel line from or they make you take the bowl off the carburetor and check your fuel to make sure you don't pump anything high octane in there.
Right, the oxygenated stuff and all that crap.
So I believe, yes, check the fuel, check the oil before you go through, or at least do an eye-level check, making sure everything is kosher before you go through. But I'll just tell you, the first thing that comes to my mind when you check weight before a race, and I'm not the only person that's going to think of this one, but if I got to weigh 430, I've got 50 pounds in my pockets full of lead weight. And as soon as I get on that track and go around that first corner, I'm going to start throwing lead off the track. I'm just thinking as a racer. Maybe a corner worker will catch it. Maybe he won't. But that's, giving up 20 pounds in a race or even 10 pounds would be huge.
So you don't think that could be stopped in pre-tech, where like a pat down, where
it can, and there's always been debate on when you get to the heavier divisions because we're looking at safety. At the 400-pound class, we say you got to be 200-pound driver dressed. The reason we do that is because we don't want to see you stacking 80 pounds of lead on that cart, because if it gets away from you, it's a bullet, and it's just not safe. The more lead you have to stack on, bolts break off. We see lead at least 1, 2, 3 times a year. It even happens in the huge the Lucas Oil NASCAR. You see ballast come off the car. So that's something we're trying to eliminate. But it could, if you had a set of scales and you could take an extra minute to run guys across the scales before they go on the track, I think it would curb some. You're still going to have someone that has a 5-pound piece of lead in their pocket, and as they go around, you're just going to toss it. It could happen. Not saying it would.
No, I know. Yeah, I think that we both know the days of gentlemen's agreement are done, I think.
Yeah, that's why we have to regulate more and more.
Yeah. Well, Bear, I thought we had some cool topics tonight.
Absolutely. Appreciate you having me on again.
Oh my God, dude! I think this is. I wish you were closer so you could be right here in the studio, but I still think it's really good for us to be sharing East and West. I mean, I just think it's a good deal. Are you making the list, or is it my turn again this week?
It would be my turn to make the list.
Well, actually, you made 2 in a row, so.
That's all right.
All right. We're going to be back next week with Bear. No, help me out. Do I say it wrong? I say it right sometimes. Tamosovich.
That's fine. If you're from the old country, if you're over 50 years old, you can say it that way too.
Oh, thanks a lot, Bear.
You're welcome. You wouldn't want me in the studio because I'd probably throw things at you.
So what's going on with the Bears Den? We've got a couple minutes left. I want to kind of promote your show too as well, because your show is really cool. So tell us what's coming up, what you got going, what your goals with it are. We got about 2 minutes, and we'll get it in there.
The premise of Bears Den is to promote local racing, local kart racing, and local drivers in the area. I've had Devin Moran and Jesse Hartman, local modified late model Lucas Oil drivers. I told you I had anywhere from Hermie Sadler to Larry Booz on the show, and we're just promoting racing in general, but mostly kart racing. So I try to get we go every other Tuesday, mostly in the off seasons, and we talk with drivers how they were brought into racing. Some kart racers have made it all the way up to NASCAR and came back, I won't say down, but came back to karting. So we exploit that. Last night we had Jackie Simpson, a Kentucky racer that has won multiple big money races, 10,000 win stuff. And he's talked about how his career started in 97 and now he's pretty much done. So that 23-year racing career, Mike Dickerson, Jamie Wheeler, we put promoters, track owners, racers. We talk about the tough subjects. We talk about differences and how the respect and the responsibility and discipline is different now than it was back then. The more technical aspect of karts. So there's nothing we won't talk about. It's a little bit less. It's more impersonal now because we took away that face on Facebook Live where you can do the picture-in-picture. But we get anybody and everybody we can on there to talk about racing and promote kart racing, especially in Ohio. For every track that closes, another one opens. So karting is not dying. There's nothing wrong with karting. Karting is great. It's positive. It's structured, and we want to keep it moving in the right direction.
Here's what I want to say, and Bear, you'll agree with me. I want you to go, if you watch the Bears Den, if you watch Northwest Race Report every Wednesday, what we ask is, hey, if you like what you hear, man, flip that like switch and turn it on. If you like the show, man, full throttle that share button and share the Bears Den and Northwest Race Report. That's what we need to help promote our shows. That's what we're trying to do, is to get more and more people going on. And that's why Bear and I have kind of teamed together. He's still got his show. I've still got my show. But we're trying to help each other out and continue to advance this sport. We're not getting paid big money for this. We don't have millions of sponsors sponsoring our show. It's just a couple guys who are very passionate, and we want to help you guys be the best you can be.
Couldn't have said it better.
Bear, I love you, man. Thanks for being on. I'm looking forward to next week like you don't even know. Everybody, tune into the Bears Den Tuesday night. What time?
8 p.m.
8 p.m. Tuesday night. Be there or be square. We'll see you on Wednesday. You get a double dose every week. The Bears Den Northwest Race Report. We'll see you next week. Thanks, Bear.
Thanks, Terry. Take care.
You betcha. Well, another show in the books. You are the reason we're here. We hope you'll tune in next week for another Winning Wednesday here on the Northwest Race Report.
Lippy here. If you like tonight's show or any of our shows, please like and share on Facebook. And don't forget to stop by TerryBridgesRacing.com. Subscribe so you don't miss any of our shows.